Hello. Mid-February 2022. What's going on in Canada? Thought it might be a good time to take a look at Canada's chart. And what's going on with the transits? Well, first, the birth chart. Uranus conjunct the Sun at birth, both at 8 degrees of Cancer, accentuating Uranus as part inherent of within the country, who the country is. Uranus is the planet of freedom. Freedom and issues around freedom and independence. So freedom is a big part of Canadian identity and lifestyle, and this needs to be kept in mind. But we're looking today at power and control, and that's the planet Pluto. In any country's chart, we look to the house that Pluto sits in at birth to see where their power is. And Pluto's in the first house for Canada. For the United States of America, Pluto is in the second house. Money, finances, possessions. This is where the power lies for them. For in Israel, Pluto's in the 10th house. Their power is their position in the world. They take a position of power all the time in terms of who they are and where they are. Pluto in the first house. Canada. Our power is in the first house. Our identity, behavior, the land itself. This is Canada's power. What's going on right now? Transiting Saturn is in Aquarius. All about freedom and rebellion and demonstration and looking to the future and changes for the future. Aquarius, science. Saturn and Pluto have been struggling through Capricorn for past few years, especially during the pandemic. And our systems and our structures, these Capricorn things, have been very challenged. But now this energy is shifting towards Aquarius more and more. And Saturn is at midpoint, 15 degrees. Notable that Pluto in Canada's chart is at 15 degrees of Taurus. So we have a precise 90-degree square, transiting Saturn at 15 degrees of Aquarius, perfectly squaring the planet of power in Canada's chart. It lasted from mid-January and is completing mid-February. And as it gets past its point of power here and blocking of Canada's power, once the energy of this transit fades and stops blocking this power, we see a square form here with Canada's birth Saturn. Transiting Saturn, squaring the birth Saturn. And this is in effect precisely the 14th to the 21st of February and is the week, that this whole thing will be cleared out. And that's this week. By Friday of this week, we would expect to see this protest ended, cleared out. And that is the dissolving, through this energy, of this square with Canada's power. When was the last time Saturn was squaring Pluto? It correlates historically with some interesting things. Saturn was precisely where it is right now, squaring Pluto, when the Charlottetown Accord happened, 1992 and 1993. Now this is when Canadians and Canadian government was very preoccupied with looking at who has the power, the federal government or the provinces. The provincial governmental situation and the federal governmental situation, a balance between who has the power between the two. This was the big issue at that time, and difficulties resolving that were happening. This is what the Charlottetown Accord was all about. Preoccupation with power. Who had it? The federal government or the provinces? How is it going to be demonstrated, this power? We look at the next time Saturn was squaring Pluto, Actually, it's the time before that. And it was when Canada changed its flag. In 1963, Saturn was squaring Pluto, just like it is right now, when Canada changed its national flag. Big deal. Big faction of people saying, no, we can't do that, and big faction of people saying, yeah, we got to do that. Pro and con. And right now, the preoccupation for the world, including Canada, is freedoms versus rules and laws governing freedoms. How far does the government go? These are the issues societies are dealing with throughout this pandemic period and certainly afterwards. So this is what's going on now. And what's interesting as well, later this year, Uranus is also traveling in Taurus. Saturn is squaring Taurus and Uranus is traveling in Taurus. So Uranus is going to be conjunct Canada's Pluto, the planet of power, later this year. And that will be in May, and it will be in December, and then it will be once more in January of 2023 before Uranus continues to carry on, and we won't see it back here again for another 84 years. So 2022-23 is a very key time for Canada to take a darn good look at the power. Who's got the power? The federal government, the provincial government? These are the issues that are going to preoccupy Canadians. So this Saturn square Pluto energy kicked in just as the truckers moved into Ottawa. And what started out as a protest and apparently seemed to become an occupation of sorts, including a few guns showing up in Alberta, this is what prompted martial law another time. We've seen Uranus conjunct Pluto only the once, but we have seen Saturn conjunct Pluto several times. Saturn was conjunct Pluto both times that we had martial law in the past. Saturn was conjunct Pluto in 1970-71 with the October crisis, where the Quebec separatists were making a huge demonstration of leaving Canada, and in doing so became rather violent, killed an MP. They brought in martial law. Prior to that, Saturn was conjunct Pluto when Canada entered into the whole war situation, Second World War, and martial law was in effect then. So we don't have martial law in effect now. It's something called the Emergencies Act, and it was brought into place after the last martial law came in. At that point, the federal government having that much power was very disconcerting to the provinces, so they changed the law and made it into a less powerful thing for the federal government with the Emergencies Act. And that's what Trudeau kicked in this last week to deal with this Saturn square Pluto energy, where Canada's power was being blocked. Had to open it up again. It'll be interesting to see how long this lasts. Uranus won't make it to Pluto until May. Will this Emergency Act continue through May? It seems a long time, but it's possible. The issues of power and who's in control in Canada, the federal government or the provincial government. These are the issues that Canada was meant to deal with in 2022-23. It just happens to be showing up this time with the truckers' protest. Last time, it showed up with the Accord. The Charlottetown Accord. And we'll see this resolved, no doubt. But a whole society in all countries has to resolve these issues around laws and rules relative to freedoms and lifestyle. Is it sensible to rely on truckers and long-distance hauling of goods and supplies we need, and boats bringing it to the truckers? Is this sensible? Self-sufficiency within communities clearly needs to be the focus after this time period. One would hope that's the major lesson learned. But we'll see how it evolves. Meanwhile, this square between transiting Saturn and birth Saturn in Canada's chart will see the end of this protest this week by the 24th of February. Take care.